Watching NewsX, my name is Vineet Malhotra. US report has come out on the eve of the meeting of the WHO, which is expected to discuss the next phase of an investigation into the origins of COVID 19. How did this come about? It's been more than a year still. We don't know where corona or COVID 19 and multiple of its avatars have come from. The report claims that three researchers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology sought hospital care in November 2019, months before China disclosed that there was this pandemic by the name of corona or COVID 19. Remember, a report from 2015 made rounds claiming that Chinese military scientists had discussed the weaponization of SARS. There's a growing demand, with several world leaders and global scientists asking for a full probe into China's Wuhan lab leak theory. After all, how can we not probe the link with glaring evidence of the whistleblower's death in 2020 and China denying all relevant data to WHO? China is now on the global radar and the world needs answers. We'll talk about this and a lot more. Joining me on the program is Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat. Also joining us on the show is Padma Shri, Professor Mohsin Wali, cardiologist and physician. Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, also joins us on the platform. And Prasun Sharma, foreign policy expert, China expert, will also be joining us momentarily. Dr. Mohsin Wali, a very simple question for you. In order to solve this conundrum of COVID-19 and a multitude of factors that have come about in its treatment, in its origin, how important, according to you, as a clinician, as a physician, as a doctor, is the origin of this virus? Do you think it will help the world better understand how to deal with it and how to treat it?
Yes, it is. And people have pointed out in 2020, in the month of March, that French scientist Luc Montagnier who had worked a Nobel Prize, he's a Nobel Prize winner, and he said there is a mixture of malaria-like genome plus HIV-like genome in this virus, and his theory was not accepted, and there were a lot of write-ups against him, and he has found something about vaccines I'm not going to discuss now. So, it clicked to my mind, very honestly. I'm giving my personal opinion. I'm not blaming anyone, that why these anti-malaria drugs and why these antiviral drugs which were used in HIV were effective against this virus. Initially, there were some reports. So when we are talking about this big problem, you are rightly called a diplomat. It's a money, politics, and medicine. This is a triad in this disease, and this is very clear what is happening all around the world. But my submission to everybody since beginning is, let us go and ask China, what have you done? How have you managed? How have you controlled? How have you brought the numbers down? And this will serve the whole world, instead of you celebrating, rejoicing, and showing your tourists on the Great Wall of China and showing the lights across and enjoying. So instead of that, if China could have shown sympathy to the people who are every day dying throughout the world, in almost all parts of the world, that would have been a better option for China, with full regard to China and its authorities. And China should have the work to solve this problem by way and means, with telling or without telling the secrets, must come out, at least have sympathy with the world, and so many people dying therefore. So these stories have been well on internet about the Guardian's leak of that Twitter, and we have talked 2 weeks back a lot about bioweapon and all, which is not the topic of this talk. The only medical point which I'm making is this is a different virus, and so we should know more about this different virus through those persons who are involved in research, either in Hong Kong or China. I have the names. I'll tell in the next segment. So we should have a global cooperation, and we should not try to wash what the WHO was trying to do. WHO have to be given the full access, which they did not get. WHO is not satisfied with this report. Couple of months back, when the WHO planned its visit, the Wuhan city was flooded. How did this water came? Only in Wuhan city, God knows. And then when they were granted access, they said it's still to be probed. See, English is a very fine language, and we can say no or yes. in many sentences without meaning anything. So you see, this kind of thing is not like, we should be very clear where this virus came from. This is confusion in the world. I will tell you very important point. Where this virus is produced is an entirely different part of the story. Everybody has to do research and make combinations and permutations in the lab. But how this virus came out, that is called leak. Was this accidental? We have Chernobyl, we have Union Carbide leak, we had Fukushima disaster. So this is two parts of this question. One is how this virus was researched, or it was changed or mutated. This is very much academic part of the story. But the accident part of the story has created this pandemic. So this has to be divided into two. Very definitely it has to be split into two, and then we can have a clear.
Okay, Ambassador Mukherjee wants to come in. Ambassador Mukherjee, I know you have a point to make, but I was formulating this question before you put your finger up, is that, people did seek medical help before the COVID-19 outbreak, and they were from the Wuhan lab. Is that some sort of a smoking gun evidence on the eve before a WHO meeting is to take place as to how to further investigate the origins of the COVID-19 virus?
Well, first and foremost, Vineet, I wanted to say that there is a biological weapons convention, and the signatories are clear that they will not participate in any work leading to the development of a biological weapon. So if this virus was being developed in a Wuhan lab, as seems very likely, then China is in gross violation as a permanent member of the Security Council of an important international convention strictly prohibiting development and use of biological weapons. Now, what adds, therefore, further evidence is the fact that this medical attention was sought, this news report which you are referring to, which is very important, which clearly indicates that not only was this virus being developed in this Wuhan lab, but that a leak had taken place, and that those who were working on the virus fell sick and sought medical help. The other issue is, Dr. Wali was saying that correctly so, that the WHO team was not given access. But I have to point out also, unfortunately, that because, as he rightly said, the combination of money, politics, and medicine, I agree with this definition, the combination of politics and money led in the first place to the WHO going slow on any inquiry on the origin of the virus because of the circumstances in which the WHO chief was elected with Chinese support and Chinese funding. And later on, when due to pressure from other countries, they agreed to an inquiry and they sent the team, and the team was not given access. It took them a long time to admit that they were not satisfied with the findings. Even this Dr. Fauci, who is now making certain important comments, it would have been much better if he had made those comments earlier, because what he is now saying is confirming what we in India and what your news channel, Vineet, has been saying for a long time, that this is a Chinese conspiracy, that this is a Chinese-made virus, that this is a virus that escaped, and the Chinese were not able to bring it back under control. So, being a communist dictatorship, they just arbitrarily shut down the entire Wuhan area of 70 million people, I'm told, and subsequently washed their hands of the consequences, and even tried at some point to blame countries like Italy, etc., saying that the virus came to China from Italy, whereas it was actually the other way around, because there were these direct flights going from Wuhan to Italy at that point of time, and that is how the virus went to Europe in the first instance. So yes, it's very significant, and it's still not too late for the WHO to put its act together and to order a much better inquiry. And if the inquiry is not successful because of lack of cooperation by the Chinese, then the WHO should have the courage, the guts to do what a multilateral specialized agency is supposed to do, which is to pinpoint and say that we are not being given proper access. We have these suspicions. We need to either reject or confirm them. We must be given access. We must know what happened, because there is no other way to get to the bottom of it. Because what is even more dangerous, Vineet, is that today we are grappling with COVID-19, and it has devastated the world economy. It has brought Delhi, for instance, to its knees for some weeks when we were gasping for oxygen. We don't know what further the Chinese have in store for us. Maybe after a couple of years, when we have recovered from the pandemic and when the story of the lockdown would be only a story that we will tell our children, we think maybe 2 to 3 years from now, something else will come. So we have to stop it right now. We cannot, the world cannot keep on going through these pandemics in this manner, wrought upon by China and unchecked. The international community has to check it. They have to look at it like a World War III unleashed upon the world and check it just like we did. It's a different kind of a war, but we've had more deaths than even World War II. We have to think about it. How many deaths we've had? Many.
Absolutely. I completely concur with you. And Joyita, how can we prevent from this happening again? China obviously concurs with that WHO report that came out in February, whereby they completely dismissed the idea of this being a lab leak. But the contrary reports are aplenty in terms of how people went about seeking medical help after there was some sort of a lab accident in Wuhan. But at the same time, the bigger question is, what's in it for China? There are obviously reasons to believe that China did it out of some sort of a need to dominate the world. But, going by what's happening right now, what's in it for China in the long haul?
When we are talking about the early February report that the WHO issued, that particular quote-unquote so-called investigation that took place were undertaken by 34 scientists, out of which 17 scientists were Chinese, handpicked by the Chinese government, and the other 17, the international scientists, their names were vetted by the Chinese. So it might as well, it was not a WHO investigation, could have been a China investigation conducted by China. The whole purpose of that investigation was to whitewash China's role in in the spread of the pandemic. And after some of these international scientists told the WHO Director General, even Mr. Ghebreyesus had to admit publicly that, you see, these some of the international scientists who had gone, they said that they were not given access to any I would say source from where they could have got any information. So you see, this is exactly where the WHO is placed. Now, when we are tackling an issue, when we have to handle a problem like China, the first thing we need to realize about China is that its first tendency is to lie. It's going to lie through its teeth. Whatever you accuse them of, it is going to lie. They have just denied that particular Wall Street Journal report that came out saying the scientists fell ill. They have said that no, that did not happen. That's a lie. So China will tend to lie. China will tend to hide facts. Then we have to reconcile ourselves to the fact that China is not averse to using a pathogen for political purpose. Okay, so you see, and once a regime behaves like that, or once a regime is as ruthless as that, what are you dealing with? You are dealing with something much worse than Nazi Germany. Let's first of all get that very clear in our mind. This is worse than Second World War, because at least there the enemy was visible. Here, we don't know what China can do. And I totally agree with Ambassador Mukherjee. What are we going to do unless and until China is held accountable? China is made to open its record books. China is made to show how they have found a cure, and we have every reason to believe they have found a cure. Otherwise, if their numbers are anything to go by, if we have to believe their numbers, then they have found a cure. But if we do not find that, there is no guarantee that a similar pathogen will not be released maybe 2 years or 3 years from now, or even next year, or maybe inside the next 6 months. We don't know what China can do. So, but you see, when the whole idea, and that is how the virus spread. When you look back last year, that is how the virus spread. Even if we take it in terms of, even if it's a natural virus, which it was not, increasing proof is coming that it was not a natural virus. If it was spilled out by accident from the lab, they shut down domestic travel, but Mr. Xi Jinping allowed those flights to go from Wuhan to all over the world. And that is how the virus spread. While domestic travel was shut down, but he allowed to do it. He did it knowingly. That is criminal behavior. That is, so basically, what exactly is China up to? And the problem with us, the problem with the rest of the world is that so many people are totally sold on Chinese money. That is the main problem. You see, that is why nobody is willing to hold these Chinese Communist Party accountable. Not the companies, unless and until there is a complete decoupling from China, until and unless the manufacturing lines move away from China, China will not learn its lesson. You have to hit China where it hits hard, that is its money.
Absolutely. Prasun, do you think China is going to be able to wriggle its way out of this particular predicament with the cash and clout?
Vinny, surprisingly, there's a lot of words exchanged from US, but no, substantial work on the ground. Few days back, we heard that they are saying that the Olympics, which has to be held in China, should be cancelled, and then repeatedly that there should be an investigation. Why they are not taking strong actions or consolidate, global narrative to start a formal procedure for this? Why just in media or some other, statements are coming? And if you see in terms of the economic aspect, the trade deal is still on between them. And if you see the trade, the Chinese trade has grown up in 2020, but the US fall apart like 40% less what was target in phase one. So is it just to show that they still are, taking hard stance for China, or the Biden administration really want to do something substantial and do these, investigations so that the whole global community should really know what was the origin, why China is hiding that, and why this geopolitical disbalance is happening because of Chinese aggression, whether they are saying that they are doing a practice to, invade Taiwan, or they are creating troubles in LAC with India. So I think there is a lack of, commitment from US side to take a substantial action on the ground.
Right. And Dr. Wali, we are plateauing in the second wave. There is a third wave which is expected in September and October. In your opinion, what does India need to do before any other threat of this proportion comes knocking on our door, in terms of boosting the immunity of Indians, in terms of making sure that a virus such as this never wreaks the kind of havoc that we have seen in the second wave, especially in Delhi and other parts of the metropolis in the country? And how do we prepare for it? Because that would be, in a way, a befitting reply to whosoever, even if it's China, a befitting reply to powers that are trying to, in fact, derail the Indian system and derail the Indian progress.
Very, very difficult task ahead. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Very, very difficult task ahead. India is such a conglomeration of different cultures, creeds, states, languages, colors, immunity. Everything is different when we see India in various states, and to make one regulation and to make one approach is not, to my knowledge, a stable way of dealing with the future days. First of all, we have to secure the vaccines. You see, we are talking too much about vaccines, but where are vaccines? Number one. Secure, produce, optimize their distribution so that nobody would say, I've gone to vaccination center and I was not able to get vaccine. Okay, this is first approach, immediate. Second is, when we augment our vaccination program, as is talked about the third wave, augment the facilities in the villages first. We are always forgetting the real India, the rural India, where so many deaths are taking place after the second wave is settling, and I would not call this an achievement. We have to go back to the villages, at least give them primary health care, save deaths. We can save deaths there. It's not too much complicated. Save deaths in the villages because they grow the food grain for us. It's very important. You see, we are talking about tourism industry, aviation industry. No, first is villages. Third, augment the facility for children, especially medical facilities, and take lesson from what we have not spent on GDP, part of GDP on the health. It is the time we should spend more money on health sector, as our former health minister, Shri J.P. Nadda, had gone through that renewed national health policy. The most important point to me was to augment the primary health care. So make the primary health care stronger day by day. As we are multiplying in numbers, we are producing, you see, on Akshaya Tritiya, 2,000, 2,500 wedding cards are distributed in one city like Delhi. So after 9 months, I tell people, calculate it. 2,500 roughly children will be born. Are we making schools for them? Are we making hospitals for them? Are we making medical infrastructure for these young growing children, that tomorrow's future of India? What are we doing? You see? So all these things have to be augmented. You see, it is very easy to talk. I and you can talk very easily. But to have a heart for this, to have the manpower for this, to have trained pediatricians, trained neonatologists for saving children is very difficult. It is not going to come overnight. We are losing doctors. Over 1,000 doctors on paper we have lost. We must have lost many more than that. So if the workforce is getting shrunk in, or we are not having enough number of doctors, we have the lowest number of doctors and nurses if we compare to the developing countries even. So that facility has to be given for tomorrow, and also adequate supplies of drugs. When we replenish the oxygen, the shortage of drug comes. So this is not the idea. Idea is to have an advanced thinking, advanced storage. If you are not able to store, you discard the medicine. Don't produce less because we don't need it much. So this should be very, very great strategy. And as national task force is being made in Maharashtra for children, national task force should be made for India at a national level to supervise all these states, and the states should be given their responsibilities. As I said, whole India cannot be governed by one ruling. And other than that, we should have safety and security from other diseases. At the same time, we are forgetting malaria, we are forgetting dengue in the days to come, which are major enemies of the rural population. So we should be careful about these other things and stay home till you want. You see, stay home, you cannot stay home forever. So you have to come out, exams, etc. you have to discuss later, because they are stressing more on exams and all these things. Transport, very important. You can't say transport is closed forever. So you have to devise methodologies to stay at home and keep a balance in the production, and economic development has already slowed down much. We are getting very bad picture of GDP.
Right. We've almost run out of time. I'm going to take concluding comments from the rest of our panelists, starting with Ambassador Mukherjee.
Well, Vineet, all that I have to say is that unless the international community focuses on who was the perpetrator of COVID-19, and China is placed in the dock in a manner in which it cannot wriggle out of, until the Chinese understand that the international community fully comprehends the manner in which they have unleashed COVID-19 upon the world, there could be future pandemics. So the most important task before us is to ensure, in our position in WHO, along with other like-minded countries, to work to bring China to the dock, to make the world community understand what they've done. The second and most important issue again is to prepare for future pandemics, because I am extremely doubtful whether what I'm saying will happen, that China will be in the dock, in which case we have to prepare for future pandemics, in which case we have to do what Dr. Wali has said, which is to shore up our infrastructure, and while keeping in mind that with such a huge population, it is completely impossible even in developed countries to cater to these kind of pandemics. So for a country like India, which is a developing country with such a huge population, we have to do our best. And thirdly, again, as he said, we have to vaccinate, because that's the only way we can develop herd immunity. Thank you.
Joyita?
Well, first of all, you see, when we are going to talk about the West, there is this tendency, especially in the media and even amongst lawmakers, and also, for example, what we are witnessing in UK. They will go to town about, the Indian virus, the Indian variant, the Indian variant. They're talking about the Indian variant. BBC is talking about it. UK MPs are talking about it. But they're not talking about China. So what is happening? A whole lot of these countries are talking about, having an Indo-Pacific strategy about containing China. But at the same time, on the side, they're cutting deals with China. They are being very circumspect about, saying anything against China. They may be saying, but in actual terms, they are doing nothing. So this is how they're allowing China to get away with a genocide. I'm not even going to call a murder. China is getting away with genocide. Frankly, it is time India took the lead in world bodies like WHO, in the context of which I would like to know what has India done in the last 1 year as chairing the WHA. It has done nothing. Frankly, I don't think we should be letting go of this opportunity. And we have stood up to them. We have not allowed Chinese companies to participate in 5G trials. We have thrown out so many apps. We have been trying to impose a cost on them. The West is not trying to do even that. So at least in that way, we can take the lead. But what are we doing about that?
Okay, Prasud, half a minute for you and then we wrap up.
Yeah, I think we have to have a very comprehensive strategy against China. Like few hours ago, there is a statement that China and US will give a combined statement on climate change. Also, in one front, they are joining hands. On other fronts, they are confronting. This is very confusing and that's very dangerous because we are seeing now there is a talk about third wave and that will also impact the children. So that's very, very devastating for countries like India, and we have to be well prepared. And the G7 countries specifically, they should be very knowingly know that this can happen to them also, and they should come together now instead of sharing words. There should be a comprehensive, single-minded policy against China. If they are not telling us the origin, they can share the best practices. How they counter it, why there is no waves in China itself, and what are the measures they are taking. We should start with that, at least some action on the ground to question China.
Okay. On that note, we're going to dip into a short break. Appreciate everybody for taking out the time and speaking.